Good afternoon, everyone. A few technical glitches there, as you do experience with a bit of the internet. It's ZuTime. I'm Alan Endres, and I'm the founder of ZuCoins and ZuCas. Pleasure to have you on board this afternoon, Australian Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. We changed it around a bit so that we can get our great friends in Europe and UK, and got some of those wonderful people in the US of A as well, able to watch live today. Today's is a topic which will lead into a few more interesting things later in the week, but it sets the groundwork for what I've been wanting to outline over the last 14 odd episodes. And today's episode is episode 15, and it's all about brand protection. Now, you may be wondering, what's the point of me discussing that? That's just something that companies should do. We're talking about trademarks, and we're talking about the brand of ZuCoins and ZuCas. Well, I think it's important because what it does, it sets the things that we want to put in motion as part of the message that I've been putting out for some time in relation to obviously decentralization. At the end of the day, when that brand ZuCoins is out in the marketplace, it's actually your brand, because it becomes the brand of every single peer, and it's your ownership, in fact, because that's what you're protecting in relation to the ZuCoin brand and the things that we do. Now, we are just here for the beginning of an incredible journey, which you would have seen in previous episodes. And I think some of the episodes that you should reflect upon based on where I'm heading today with this brand protection really hones in on, and let's just recap. I've looked at particularly episode 12, which was the crypto versus the central bank digital currencies and how relevant that is in terms of where we sit and the competition that's happening there as well. And that led into episode 14, FOMO, of where I'm trying to highlight to everybody the perspective of two camps effectively coming into play. That is government bureaucracies on the left side and the decentralized believers on the right side, and those that are fitting somewhere in the middle. And again, it's like any great organization. You take McDonald's, you take the banks, they spend a lot of time and money and energy on their brands, and not all of it pays off because a lot of the brands get trashed, etc. But you can put in train, the legal mechanisms that do protect the brand. And at the end of the day, as I said, it's a little bit unique because we're instigating a brand that I believe, is going to have an enormous impact in the future on our daily lives, financially, you financially, and it's something that we're handballing it to you to protect that brand and that integrity of that brand. So what I've done to start that out is look at a number of trademarks around the world in relation to both ZuCoins and ZuCoin. So that's ZuCoins with the S and ZuCoin, singular. And the idea is that I'm no more than really wanting to be the initial guardian of that brand. And for all intents and purposes, I've said on many occasions, the person behind it doesn't really matter, as in no one will give a care in the world about who Alan Endres was at the end of the day. And no one cares who Satoshi is at the end of the day in Bitcoin. But once we put in train that sort of trademark protection, it's no more than being a guardian to preserve and protect the brand itself, of which you, participants as peers, will carry forward that torch, if you like, to make sure that that brand holds in good stead for the long journey that I've talked about. So how do we do this? Well, the first part was, it's taken a long time, a lot longer than you could imagine, 12 months plus, to set in motion, in conjunction with the marketing strategies, the protection through trademarks. And those trademarks, which is why I've held back on a lot of the things that I wanted to promote and push as to the testing that I've talked about with the advertising and marketing strategies, which I'd invite you to go back and look at that. Now, that was in episode 13. In terms of promoting the brand and testing the social media, and the way in which we go about that. Now, the interesting thing about brands and trademarks is that you're going to have those out there that want to trash these brands, and that is just human nature. You're just going to find that you live with that, but you can put mechanisms in place to dent the impact of that by standing up, putting ourselves as peers, supporting it, being part of that family, the ZuTime family that we are, and be proud and find an absolute privilege to be part of something that's new and associated with that brand, ZuCoins or ZuCoin. So for me, as a starting point, as I said, it's taken this length of time to finally reveal that with those trademarks in place, and I'll just go through those so that you're aware. It covers pretty well the major GDP countries in the world. But in summary, the main key players in that space rather, is countries that we've locked it down, which is obviously the United States of America. So that covers a huge market there. That is registered now, has just come through. So I'm reading from a report which was sent through us from our trademark lawyers on Friday, the 1st of October, which gave us all the confidence to talk about, which I'll summarise at the end of this, about the position we've taken in relation to social media and how we will now come out all guns blazing, if you like, on the back of these trademarks. Certainly, China is registered as well in relation to those trademarks, and these are readily searchable. By the way, they're all recorded with the appropriate trademark registration numbers in the jurisdictions. Australia has been ticked off. New Zealand has been ticked off. The trademarks in Europe have been ticked off, and also we've got applications in other jurisdictions, which will pretty well lock down, as I said, 90% of the world's GDP. If you look at the way in which the brand will be placed amongst the market for everybody to see and do. Now, when you look at advertising and marketing, and now that we have the confidence as a result of these trademarks, the testing that we did with social media, which look, for all intents and purposes, it's a money-making racket of either attracting and trying to waste people's money on advertising, which I've talked about, the lack of success rate. Alternatively, you get just the absolute dimwits and idiots out there that want to hide behind a badge of being anonymous to put their 2 bobs bit in as they're either trying to trash the brands or have their uninformed input into what they see as the products itself. In this instance, of course, we're talking about significant advancements in the split chain and significantly with the ZuCoin itself and the way that works and what we've talked about competing with Bitcoin, which all comes down to, at the end of the day, value proposition with a reflection in the value itself. And that's the basis upon which we talk about mass marketing, etc. So the trademarks, of course, United Kingdom is another one that's actually been registered and has come through. And the tactic that we use now as a result of having that comfort, I, as a guardian of that trademark, not here to make money out of it. I'm here to protect the brand itself, as I said, and to allow those close, wonderful ZuCoin followers, the believers, the true believers in ZuCoins, to rest assured that they can fall back on the integrity of that brand. Now, the way to do that is to make sure that we don't have a number of issues that arise in the future of people trying to take advantage of that brand for a number of reasons. Now, one can be outright scamming. Now, this is where, you've got to be extremely careful and cautious in terms of the way in which it validates once you go past the stage of the wallet and the transfer, and you're starting to bring yourself into the commercial world of people wanting to take coins off you. So unless you see the official website, zucoins.com, or you'll see a contracted version of the portal I talked about that we're going to have all of our advertising medium through, which will be direct, and more news on that at some stage, then it's real and it's official. If you see anything outside of that and people trying to take up the brand to either take other crypto in exchange for they're all false. Those promoters will be false. unless it's directed through the commercial aspects of what we put out to our ZuCoin community and amongst yourselves. Now, once you're amongst yourselves with your wallets, you will know that you're dealing with legitimate people in relation to the ZuCoins by the very nature of the coins themselves and the way in which you can verify those coins and into the wallet. Now, I might digress a little bit there because clearly, as I said in the past, we're putting out one form of the wallet. It's a skin, if you like, the core engine that runs and the openness and source of that code will be available for developers, which is what we want, through merchants and through add value products to the network, the split chain network. Others will come out with maybe far superior look and feel wallets, and that's fine because they're still going to have the engine underneath, and they may provide far more interesting and user-friendly wallets, etc. But the core won't change. So we're encouraging that. We're encouraging that the developers come out of the blocks, and you're going to see some U-Butte wonderful product lines back-ended onto the split chain and what that does for your coins. But you'll always find that the ZuCoins and ZuCoin brands will be protected for that integrity value of the overall product. So if you're looking at the trademarks and the way they'll work, obviously the first thing, as I said, is to remove that element of fraud that people will be trying to copy or phishing false websites, trying to lure you into a sense of those um, other alternative payment methods that may come across your path, and all sorts of things to scam and take basically your coins off you and or money for coins that may or may not exist as a result of not having a part of the ZuCoin family and the brand that we protect. That's one aspect of the brand. The second is those that are actually have ulterior motives, whatever that may be, and their mission in life is to try and trash the brand. And that's through absolute either stupidity, being idiots, or a complete lack of understanding of what the actual technology is, even though they may promote themselves as some shape or form. And they tend to do that through social media, which is the exciting part of why we tested social media and why, as of today, as we said, Telegram's been disconnected. There is no official ZuCoin presence on Telegram, and that'll slowly happen with the other channels as well, social media in terms of Twitter and Facebook, because at the end of the day, our business lines, not just through ZuCoins and ZuCoin, I say that because people have tried to create a false sense of connection to ZuCoins by just dropping the S. So don't get sucked into that. That's why the trademarks were put in place and took a bit longer before I could reveal how we're going to go about this. So you've got to be careful of those that will be bagging out the technology, coming up with all sorts of reasonings, etc., etc. But again, the transparency of the information will be available through the official channels, and you can always know that if you're contacting ZuCoins, something at ZuCoins.com, for example, support at ZuCoins.com, through email, then of course you'll be communicating through the official channels and getting the appropriate information as what is happening or not happening, because there's a lot of promotional stuff that's going to occur that's not relevant or has anything to do with us. Absolutely zero. I noticed in a couple of the live broadcasts that you may have seen people already offering and saying send X number of Ethereum to a particular number for ZuCoins. Now, unless that comes from an official channel, and that didn't come from us, that was straight out scamming, then be very, very cautious. If you are uncertain about anything of people promoting supposedly part of ZuCoins, then you can certainly check with our official sites, our staff, etc., to make sure before you even do anything. Now, how do I know this? I know this for a fact. I had one of our very close ZuCoin holders, and he, on the weekend, told me of a scam that he got caught up in, and wanted to make sure we're aware of this, that, he had some crypto, and the idea was that they would send that crypto to a trading platform, and that trading platform would build and make an absolute fortune for them as a result, for him in that regard, of those particular cryptos. And as his profits went up, when the time came to withdraw the money, the scam was quite simple in the end. You had to add more money in order to trigger a withdrawal button for those funds to come back. And lo and behold, the funds never came back. So they've used the brands to lure people in to give up their hard-earned crypto, whatever that may have been, Ethereum in that case, but BTC or other coins. And that's what could happen with ZuCoins as well, because you're going to have to be responsible for yourselves once you see those coins in your hot hands with the wallet. So that's a real issue in terms of making sure you've identified the right communication, you've identified the right websites and the right portals as to who you are dealing with. And that's why I say we're going to be taking it to a high level as guardians of the trademark, guardians of the brand. Now, the third type, of course, is the general just abusive stuff on social media. And for me, that's been very exciting learning curve, which I've talked about in an earlier episode. But significantly, it just goes to prove that the giants of the industry really have done an incredible job on increasing the level of their profits through advertising, not just from the merchants who may or may not be legitimate with products, but certainly with the consumers who could be legitimate. But then you've got these other idiots and wallies out there that are contributing to that confrontation and agitation, and all they're doing is making more money for those giants. So it would be remiss of us, being in the advertising space, competing with those bodies, for even a blind second to think that we would be contributing and helping them make money, when in fact we have our own capacity through our own portal, which is an official portal that you'll get used to. And you can see all of the information. If you get information from us, as in the ZuCoins business, then you'll know it's official. We're transparent. That's why the live broadcasts are here, that anything we say and do is going to be part of what is in the ZuCoin world and is real. Other than that, you can just throw it in the bin. So the technique of the trademark is, the first thing we do is to make sure that we remove a great level of that, the falsehood that you see. It's a combination between those immortal words of fake news and scam and fraud. So if you sort of compress that together, they're the three key elements that we can remove by attacking it, using the advantage we now have of securing these trademarks. So how do I do that? Well, as you're all aware, one of my pet hobbies is litigation, and I take the role of being the trademark guardian seriously. I've seen what can happen with our other businesses, and how we've pulled out of nosedives in relation to making sure that we can bring those brands and the integrity of those brands back. And the way in which we do that is that the laws are now starting to catch up with that big idiot element that's out there in these channels, and people just trying to copy and take advantage of that financially. So the strategy from here moving forward is that with these trademarks in our back pocket, we will be now, over the next many weeks, putting on notice the large platforms that there will be a cease and desist notices going through to their legal parties and representatives, that anything that uses the ZuCoins or ZuCoin brand that's outside of the official use would be looked at to be disengaged and taken off the platforms. So how do we work that? For example, if you've got some idiot that's trying to use a user tag or ID, and he's simply got it as ZuCoin, then of course that's been approved and allowed by the platform. And of course, whatever rubbish and garbage that's produced as a result of that, the search engines will direct it to that particular user ID. And of course, people will get sucked into either A, misinformation, B, stupidity, or an actual financial fraud or risk to their investments. So we are able to put the platforms on notice that they are in breach by allowing that to happen and to be quite rightly taken down. So we don't need to attack the content providers, as in those that make the commentaries. What we can do is make sure we go to the highest level, and the courts are assisting in that regard, which is what I alluded to in Australia as an example, a recent High Court case that clearly put the onus back on the platforms to make sure that the commentary starts to vaporize if it's against a whole lot of legal reasons, like inappropriate commentaries, breach of trademarks, copyrights, that sort of thing is starting to come to the fore. So we'll take advantage of that. Some of the things that come to mind is some of the idiots out there with commentary and say Reddit. Telegram was a great testing platform, and we won't bother with those that are producing the comments. We'll be bothering with the owners of the platforms to pull those down across the board. So they can make all the comments they like, but they're just not going to use the trademarks and brands that we have now secured to try and take advantage of the search engines to bring you to those particular sites, which will cost you in the end. So the brand protection is about protecting not just us as a community, us as a ZuTime community, but more importantly, the significant monies that people have put in, and take that as far as we can to protect in that regard. So that's a very important element to our business strategy. And as I said, that'll go across all social media platforms, Facebook, etc. We won't leave anything out. Instagram, Pinterest, whatever it is, they are legally responsible, and certainly you're starting to see a bit of a cleansing that's happening in relation to the way things are posted and commentaries are left, etc., etc. Because you may not get damages out of the idiot that's produced it, but you'll certainly get the idiot finding himself or herself without a forum of which to either produce their waffle or their illegal, ill-gotten strategies on trying to take your coins. Now, that's the premise upon which I wanted to bring to your attention today. That we couldn't act on this earlier because we hadn't received all of the appropriate registrations as ironclad and official. Pleased to let you know that that has happened now, and we're in a strong position to move forward, which, as I said, ties in with our overall marketing strategies. Now, in terms of some just bringing this a little bit earlier today to a close, we had a test over the weekend. This tutorial thing has been driving us crazy to try and work through. They've still got the end of the week, the remaining 20 that are out there. So keep pushing ahead with that with your wallets. And we'll review that on Monday next week to see where it ends up with the distributions, etc., of the plan, which we said at the beginning. Continuation with the soft launch is that we want everybody to get their wallets and 10 coins to then process those transactions and see the outcome of that. And as I said, we're rolling it slowly out, but we'll work through that this week. But one of the things we had looked at with the tutorial is that at the end of the day, and the responses we got and the pressing, etc., I'm going to work with one of our video producers later in the week, and hopefully ready for next week, with a live recording of me receiving from the beginning to the end the SMS, a live SMS, and the processes of what happens on my phone with the wallet, with the way you activate, download, the way in which you use the icon, the way in which you send funds, etc., or coins rather, and record that in a couple of steps and treat that as a posting on our official sites that everybody can watch and see that and refer to that literally 24/7, so that you know exactly what you got to do, having watched it live with me in relation to the wallet process. So that will be a recorded a video of the entire wallet process that we honestly believe that surely everybody will appreciate that and appreciate how easy it is then to use and not get confused when you get the shock of getting it for the first time. So that's much better than a tutorial, we believe, and certainly a visual that will allow everybody to, go over and over it. It'll only take a few seconds. That's pretty well all it takes to get your heads on that ready in preparation. So that's the part and parcel of that. In terms of the success, yes, we're not of that 20. We've probably only got about 6 now that we're struggling, and we'll get them over the line, as I said, by the end of the week. So pleased with that. In terms of some of the news that was bubbling over the weekend, I just wanted to flag your attention to some, in Australia at least, there's some great articles in our mainstream media, which relates to crypto. And in the Age today, have a look. That's an article that clearly talks about the governments and bureaucracy and the concerns they have, and how the battle lines have been drawn up in terms of the attack that's coming to the decentralized crypto space, which incredibly is right on the money. What I was talking about, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know this was coming, but certainly I'd invite you to go back and have a look at episode 12, which is the crypto versus the central bank perspective of digital assets or digital currencies, because it really hits the nail on the head in this Age newspaper article, if those from overseas are searching that article. Globally, the challenge has been put, and certainly that's the issues that we've had, or I've raised, that we're not talking about money laundering issues. We're not talking about tax evasion issues. We're not talking about illicit gains or any of that illegality. We're simply stating that there is a process in place that people can transfer value using split chain, which is, as again, competing with the Bitcoin concepts, but far more advanced in that technology. In the way in which, using that technology, there is maintained privacy of data, and certainly you still meet the compliance because of the identification through the phones from person to person, peer to peer. The way in which we've designed that you can send fractions or full coins, ZuCoins, to each other using the phone, which is also in a receptive way from our merchant database, which is all that compliance issues that I've talked about, that we want to make sure that, yes, we're compliant, but we're not going to erode the privacy of people on their transactions. There is an appropriate, rule of law, common law principles that I talked about, that whether you're in law enforcement or otherwise, certainly there are processes in place that accommodate the way in which they should access that data. And that's being eroded because you're going to get stuck with a central digital currency of every single thing you live and breathe financially will be followed and recorded and used in subsequent matters. So that's a great concern, but it's interesting that's come about today in today's newspaper. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to follow through with a episode, which will be episode 16, and this is purely on ZuCoins, which is in the crypto legal space. I think it's appropriate that we start to tease out some of the foundation stones upon which we've built, and how legally compliant in the various jurisdictions we are. And that's going to be very interesting, because that's exactly what we'd been mapping out for 2 years, to make sure that ZuCoins doesn't fall foul of any of those laws, and in fact puts it in a prime position to allow it to be that decentralized next generation crypto beyond what Bitcoin is trying to achieve. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for me today. Nice short one. But just bear in mind, in summary, it's about brand protection. I'm absolutely delighted that the trademarks have come through, and we will be acting on that as the guardians of those trademarks in your interests. They are your trademarks. And as a result of those trademarks, you are going to become the protectors as well, because there'll be mechanisms that if you think or suspect or see anything in terms of trying to fraudulently take advantage of the brand or discredit it in any way, shape, or form through stupidity and misinformation, then we're in a position, our legal teams, to take action to bring these things down through the trademarks and the platforms. So that's it for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's ZuTime. I'm Alan Endres, founder of ZooCoins and ZooCaz. Be kind, be ZooKind, because it's been ZuTime. Cheers, everybody.